Some exchange betting companies run short-lived promotions, like months-long offers of low commission. At BetDAG, we wanted to change the way we did things, so we set our commission at 2% permanently. That's 2% on football, horse racing, golf, almost any sport. 2%. That's just one way that BetDAG is changing for the better. For the better, like you. BetDAG, the 2% commission exchange.
Over 18s only, please gamble responsibly.
Hello and welcome to the ROKER Report podcast. We've got a special edition today. We've got a former player, a former youth academy product who's just recently left the club. There's been a lot of talk surrounding him and the move and whether it was the right thing to do or whether it wasn't. I'm sure he himself will let us know what he thinks, and also is growing up in the academy. But I'd just like to welcome to the ROKER Report Extra podcast, ROKER Report podcast, even Andy Nelson. How are you doing, Andy? You well?
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Hanging out in my sitting room, very comfortable.
Yes, yeah.
I miss the studio, if I'm honest. I had a studio for the first time last week, and I kind of miss it. But there you go.
It is
just life in Scotland.
Home, though, yeah, like just nice and chilled. Yeah, definitely.
You've hit the ground running. Let's be honest. 4-4 at the time of speaking. Why have you hit the ground running so well? And how are you finding Scotland?
Like when I spent my time in Scotland last year, I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I think that Scotland itself is like a lovely place, and that, like, you know, like it's the people here as well are very, very friendly. You know, I think because they're quite straight up as well as I believe that I'm quite straight up. You know, so it's like I say, I can get on well with them. And just the football as well, the style of football and the games and stuff like that, from what I experienced, was suited to me. And
have you moved up permanently yet? Have you?
Yeah,
or are you still kind of in between?
I'm in a flat now. It's a lovely flat as well, by the way. It's small enough to maintain. Let's just say that to start off with. But, I'll be looking for something more permanent when I come back up in the summer, because I've still got stuff to sort out back at home before I properly come back up here again for pre-season. So for the time being, I'm in a nice little flat late, and then hopefully something comes up better for next season. So it's going good, to be fair.
And it was an 18-month contract you signed, wasn't it?
2.5 years.
2.5 years, even better. Brilliant. Yeah. And it looks like it's been the right decision so far. I mean, how have you found Dundee as a place, as fans, as a club? Because obviously it looks like a match made in heaven as we speak at the moment.
Fantastic. Like I can't really say how much everyone's been great to me. You know, even since the first day I arrived, like, I know I was nervous as hell. You know, I came up by myself, and I got a text that said, "Oh, you're in for 8 o'clock in your medical the next morning." As soon as I got there, you know, like just meeting people and that as well. You know, like I say, everyone was great with us, and the fans were great with us as well when I first arrived. You know, like even like through social media and stuff, all wishing me welcome, and it helped me settle straight away. Like, you know, because it's like the idea of coming up here with a 2.5-year contract sorted. It gives us just a little bit of time, like these first, or this part of the season from January to the end of the season, gives us a little time to settle in, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I spoke with the manager the Saturday before I went up on the Wednesday after that, and he said, like, you know, like, this is how we play, this is how we can, like, progress you as a striker and as a player, you know, moving forward. And that, like, he said, we probably won't play as much these 6 months, but he said you can feature, you know, and he said we'll grow you and we'll try to give you the best opportunity to like I say, to progress you. You know, and it's just that little kind of like, you know, like okay, I'm here now. I've got a bit of pressure off, you know, I've got that security. I've got a bit of time on my side again. Just see how it goes, you know, get settled in, like find your feet basically. But it's like I found my feet quite quickly, you know. The lads were brilliant with us, the gaffer was brilliant with us, all the staff's been brilliant with us. And it feels like I've been here for certainly longer than since January, you know. I'm getting on so well with everyone.
I was thinking it's only been about a month or something, hasn't it?
I honestly, it's crazy. Like, especially like it's from how well I've been doing, like all the exposure and that as well. It's something new to me as well. Because I've never had exposure quite like this through, like I say, social media, through papers and stuff like that. You know, it's just a totally different totally different world to what I'm used to, you know, and it's something that I'm embracing it and embracing it well, kind of thing.
And when we put because I put some questions on Instagram today and on Twitter, and we said, anyone got any questions? And obviously it's majority Sunderland fans that follow us, I would hope.
Yeah.
But the amount of stuff we got from Dundee fans, and it wasn't even questions. It was just like, can you tell Andy that I love him? And I was like, well, I suppose I can, but it would be quite awkward.
Yeah.
But we had a couple of questions, and I've picked out a couple because a lot of them are covering probably what we're going to cover anyway, if I'm honest. Someone you may know, Luke Molyneux.
Yes.
He said, are you ever going to get your legs straightened?
Yeah, well, he's only saying that because I'm not next to him, so I can't punch his head in, like, but, you know, I'm sure next time I see Luke, we're getting a cheeky dig off his, like. Yeah,
I think well deserved that.
Yeah.
There was a good one on Instagram that I thought, and I don't know whether you think this far ahead, but it's from _Matty K. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Where do I see myself in 5 years' time? Still playing in the game, hopefully, at a good level. Whether that be in the Scottish Premiership, in England, you know, just still playing and continuing my career and just enjoying it as much as I do now, or as much as I have done in previous years, you know.
Yeah.
Like I say, like I haven't really thought that much ahead of it from this point on, because this has been my main focus since I've came up here, you know, and this is just for this season. Because with Dundee, we're finally out of the relegation drop, but we still got a lot of work to do with regards to staying up. So like I say, that's been my main focus at the minute, but generally I would have thought that if it for 5 years' time, we'd just like I say, just still be playing and continuing playing football, like, really.
It's a long and difficult question to ask, isn't it? It's like I feel like the interviewer at like a call centre job at the minute asking you that, if I'm honest.
No, it's interesting to see though, because like you see players that come into a football environment, you see a lot of them that do well, but then suddenly just drop off out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And it's like what happened to them? But for me, like I say, I'm not one to think that far ahead, but certainly if I was to think that far ahead, it would, like I say, it'd just be to play football as high as I could be playing that, if you know what I mean. Like, it's just the way I think about it.
I'm reading through the questions from Dundee are absolutely crazy. They're not even questions. Tell him I love him from Dundee. This is from Fraser McLeod. You're the one, and you still turn me on. Brilliant. I'm guessing you've got a chant up there, mate. Yes.
Yeah, I've got. I think there's two of them. There's two I've heard very well. There's two that I know off by heart, like. But no, I came back down to the academy one time to say, because I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to the lads and stuff like that, like, and you know, it was. I've kind of felt bad that if I put it in a WhatsApp group, said, "Oh lads, I've gone." Like it meant more to me to say that in person to them. So
yeah, of course.
I went back down and they were saying like, "Oh, have they got any chance and stuff like that?" I said, "I said I got these," and they just laughed, you know. Then we just cracked on and that, like, and it's class to hear, you know.
Everyone wants a chant, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do.
So going back to, I mean, I don't know how far we're going to be going back here. Probably when you were 6, 7 or whatever it may have been. Yeah. But were you a Sunderland fan growing up?
I had a number amount of teams that I fancied, should we say. You know, I had many different kits with different players on the back. I had Beckham, Henry. I had a Darlow kit at one point as well, which was funny for me because I wasn't really much of a Darlow supporter, but
there you go.
Yeah,
ended up playing for them in the end.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. It's a funny old world, isn't it? But yeah, like I remember being hooked with Sunderland when my dad was taking us to the games. And I remember one time being sitting in the stand. I'm not sure which stand it was, I can't remember. But I remember being sitting there behind the goal. And I said to myself, one day I would love to play here. I would love to play in the stadium, like, you know, because it was just class.
It's mad, isn't it? Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Like,
and you don't realise how big it is.
No. Especially when you're young as well. And you're naive to think that one day it's possible. And for that to then happen, granted, it wasn't with the senior team, but at the end of the day, I've said to myself all those years ago that I've wanted to play there and I've managed it. You know, it's something that sticks with us to this day. Like,
so were your family Sunderland fans?
My dad was. My granddad on my mother's side, or my dad on my mother's side, or my mum's stepdad, he's a Newcastle supporter, but he says he's a North East supporter, so he looks out for all teams, but his favourite team's Newcastle, but
someone's got to support them, mate.
Yeah. Like like for what I think that is, they just support me. If that makes sense. So wherever they go, so wherever I go, they'll support the team that I play for. You know.
Yeah, of course.
I know my mum bought some Falkirk stuff, and that like when I went to Falkirk, she had a Falkirk beanie and that, and a Falkirk scarf, and that like when she come to the game, she'd fit right in with the home fans and that.
I've got a Falkirk fan at work, season ticket holder. I obviously interviewed Tommy on Monday.
Yeah.
Said that I was interviewing you today as well, but he said I don't want to talk about that because he didn't sign for them.
Yeah, so. Like there was, I always said to myself as well when I left Falkirk that if I was ever to go back to Scotland, I would go back to Falkirk because I had a real emotional tie with the club. You know, like the players, the management, the owners as well, and even the staff that worked in the building. I was really, really close with. You know, I got on so well with them, and I had to in January. I had to decide where I wanted to go on loan at, and there was a couple of options that came up. But I was primarily trying to get playing football in England because obviously, like, I thought that I wanted to be closer to home and stuff like that. Like, you know, I said because I spoke with one of the Falkirk lads last year, and he said that you should try for England. Basically, you know, he said you've been here, you've done your bit, kind of thing. Test yourself in another area, and that will really add to your experience, you know. And that stuck with me. But I was quite close, I think, to coming back to Falkirk up until the point when Sunderland said, "Oh, like we're ready for you to go permanently if you want to." Mm-hmm. And then that's just like I said, that was the indication when you just go, you know, I need to go somewhere I'm going to sit tight and start making a name for myself.
Of course. Was there any player, just to go back to the original question, when you were sort of growing up and you were at Sunderland and stuff like that? Now, I know a lot of the time, I mean, I went to school with Martin Wagon, and to my memory, he was a left winger, and he's obviously a centre forward now. But growing up, did you have a particular position, or was there anyone that you modelled your game on? No,
I just wanted to play up front. I just wanted to score all the goals.
So, I mean, when it comes to growing up in the academy, which of the... Because I asked the same question at Tommy Robson, and I think you do build up a camaraderie when you're coming through an academy because you come through different groups. But which of these teamers were you closest to, and why?
The lads of my age group.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was necessarily close to the lads growing through schoolboy because it would only be 2 or 3 hours on a night when you'd see them, and it would be just training. Obviously, we were close, you know, like we were pals and stuff like that. But I wouldn't see myself going out with them to go for food or go to cinema kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be like that. But when we came in full time, I never ever thought I'd see myself where I'd become as close as what I did to the lads there coming in full time, you know? I mean, we were all such a tight knit group, and that, like, I mean, I know one or two of us would annoy the hell out of each other now and again, like, and there'd be a couple of ructions and stuff. But for the group of lads that I grew up with, I couldn't have asked for lads better, really, because at the end of the day, we all had each other in mind and what was best for each other.
And I think you go see each other's games as well, don't you? You've got Tommy was saying he's been to see a couple of games up in Dundee. Yeah, he has. Yeah. Just seeing him just shout Nella, and then he sticks his thumb up and that and smiling. And I'm like, oh, hello, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it's nice though, because like I mean, obviously me and Tommy obviously spent quite a bit of time together last year and stuff like that, and I'm sure you can agree with this that when we first moved in together, I think we were still working out with each other how we both lived. If you know what I mean? Obviously, like his way of living was different to my way of living, you know, because obviously we're from different areas and that, like, you know, kind of thing. And once we worked each other out after the couple of arguments and stuff like that, like we both just settled right in, kind of thing. You know, it was great. It was really good. So it's like as a young professional, there's a lot of good stuff said about the academy. An awful lot of good stuff, and I think everyone who's a fan of something can see what it offers. But and I'm just talking from your perspective. How does Sunderland and the Academy Light prepare you for playing league football, and what's so special about the Academy Light that seems to produce so many professionals across all levels? Yeah, well, the facilities is one. You know, you've got everything at hand there for you. You know, you've got the indoor, you've got like the chain, like I said, just the facilities in general. Everything that you could possibly need in a training facility is there for you. The staff as well. The staff are brilliant. You know, the physio department. I spent quite a bit of time when I was injured. I used to research up the injuries and like the mechanics of an injury and how certain rehab techniques could affect certain parts of an injury and how it could progress them or make them worse, kind of thing. Like, you know, so that
gives me knowledge as well to then, if I do come across a similar injury in the future, then I can know myself whether if it's bad or not, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The coaching staff's brilliant as well. Like I know from certainly from a young age group where the pressure of being a professional footballer is not there yet, because they're not there yet. They're there for the enjoyment and for the love of the game. Like, and they certainly provide that system where they come in, they make them feel like I say, just playing for the enjoyment of it, you know. And that was how I felt certainly when I was coming through as a young'un, that they were there just to see me with a smile on my face and making sure I was playing for the love of the game, like.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, coaching techniques or coaching us how to do things their way as well, or the Sunderland way, as it was.
Yeah.
And that would only then filter up through the age groups and stuff like that. And obviously then as you progress through the age groups, it would then develop obviously into more technical and tactical sides of the game. Tries to progress you into coming into full time, and then so on and so forth. But they do a great job of making you feel like football is right for you. Obviously, because they sometimes say that if you don't, like they say to us sometimes when we've had if we had a bad game or if we had a bad session a day, you've got to make sure that you love football no matter what. Because if you don't, then you're in the wrong job. Because you wouldn't be able to play your best without loving the game. Like,
no, 100%. I mean, there's very, very few players that seem to dislike the game, and there's a couple like Esso or Cotto and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Was there any coach in particular at Sunderland? Well, which coach had the biggest influence on your game, both mentally and I suppose technically, tactically, physically?
When I first came in, there was a handful. You know, I mean, when I was a young lad, I was a little nightmare. I'd spit me dummy out constantly.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd end up walking off the pitch sometimes. You know, I'd end up crying sometimes, just going off in a tantrum because it didn't even go my way, or I didn't score, or if I didn't do something right, you know. And I had Wayne Walls, who was a great influencer for me. You know, he knew exactly how to look after me and keep me right, you know. I had Ian Dipper, Dip and Swerve, he was a good lad, yeah. Like I say, and that kind of like helped us mellow out a bit, you know. Like I grew up and it's like oh, it's not all as bad as it seems, kind of thing, and that. But I think overall, the coach that had the most impact on me was Elliot Dickman.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I remember Elliot as a player, actually.
Yeah.
His brother John Joe.
Yeah, and Lewis as well. Lewis Dickman. All three of them. Like to be fair, all the coaches had a great impact on us, because I took things from every single one of them. You know, they all gave their view on me and how I could improve as a player, and I took their word on it. You know, but I had Elliot from when I was 16 right up until until I left, really. And I remember, I think I went through a spell of when I was 13, 14, I wasn't doing great at all. I think I was on the verge of being released, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I was trying too hard to make something happen, and it just wasn't. And then that's when I get frustrated and I get like a bit emotional about it, because I care so much about how well I play.
Yeah, of course. And
it would get to us, and Elliot would then obviously he would like obviously speak to me and stuff like that, and then he kind of like molded my play style around 4 simple words, really. He used to say to us, just say to yourself, simplicity is a skill. And I didn't, obviously, you see when you're growing up and that, you see all these players doing all these tricks and stuff like that, a bit like the flair and stuff like that. Like, you think, oh, I want to be like that. I want to be that player that does something magical and then scores, kind of thing. And that, like, but then obviously as I grew up through the game, like I could see to myself that it wasn't me at the time. Like it wasn't me. That wasn't my play style. My play style is the nitty gritty, hard work and pest, running about, chasing about kind of player.
Yeah.
And then I enjoyed that. I enjoyed doing that side of the game, because the players that would come up against would say to me, "Do you ever stop, or any chance in that, like, or like kind of thing?" You know what I mean? And it would make us feel good about myself, because I was doing something that was affecting the game, but in a different way.
It's hugely important to press up top, especially in today's modern game where the high press.
Yeah, that was something that, like, for me, like, I always want the ball back, and that was like that stuck with me from being a young'un. Like I say, I always wanted to score goals, so like, how can I score a goal without the ball? And I'd chase after it. I'd constantly chase, like, and it just, like I say, it's just filtered all the way through with us to this day, and it's one of my best assets, you know. And it can go sometimes. It can go a little bit unnoticed if you don't necessarily play as well. But as long as you have that in your locker, you can't fault someone for the effort and the commitment to the cause. Like
with the academy, there's your age group and Tommy's age group and Josh Robson, Michael Ledger. There's you sometimes look at the Jordan Hendersons and you look at the say Martin Waghorns and Jordan Pickford, of course.
Yeah.
But if you look throughout the age group, like Sunderland do seem to set up a lot of players that end up making it in the professional levels. Be that League Two, be that Scottish Premiership, be that the Premiership in Henderson's case. But I don't know whether you can answer this because you're still quite young yourself. But is there any players from your, not necessarily from your age group, but players that you played alongside that you're surprised didn't make it further, or are you surprised they haven't gone on to do more?
Well, it's tough to say, really.
Because some of them still could, even the ones that are currently maybe without a club, there's still players that could come along. So I know what you mean.
Yeah, like it's all kinds of factors come into play as well, whether they develop physically or mentally quicker than others and stuff like that. Like, or they get that stroke of luck where they break through and then kick on from there kind of thing, or whether they've never had that chance to kick on. You know, but there's certainly been players that I've played with who aren't playing football now that should be playing football. It's because they fell out because of that moment of heartbreak where they've been told that they're not either getting somewhere or they're not playing football, or they're not going to get the opportunity to play football at a good level, that they've just fell out of love with the game. And it's hard to see that because I remember playing alongside of them and having so many good memories of playing football with them that it's not that it's a waste, but that it's just gone. Because at the time when they played and they were on top of the game, they were some outstanding players. They really were.
Who was mainly in your age group?
We had Daniel Wright, David Lowry, Josh Robson, Luke's in my age group as well, Luke Molyneux.
Was Gucci in your?
No, Gucci's 3 years older than me, I think, 2 years older than me. Yeah, Greg Purvis, the keeper, as well. Like I said, there's loads of them. There's lads that had, but like they were good at what they did. If you know what I mean, their job, whatever their job was to do, they were good at it.
What do you make of sort of Ledger and Robson going to Norway? Because there's a lot of lads going to Scotland. You've got Tommy, I think Reece Greenwood went as well, yourself. A lot of lads went to Scotland, and I suppose it's still a big move, don't get me wrong, as a young lad. I didn't move to Scotland until I was 24, and it wasn't for professional football and with all those pressures. And it was a tough move for me for the first few months. Going to somewhere like Norway, where it's like £8 for a pint, is a little bit of a stretch as well. But did you find that quite brave, or do you think that's what a lot of players
like
doing now?
They've took a massive risk in shifting their lifestyles and what they're accustomed to somewhere completely new and unexplored. I don't think I could have done it, to be honest. I don't think I could have moved to another country so far away from home to progress that. If it came to it, I would have done, but I don't think I would have thoroughly enjoyed it. Like unless obviously we won't know until it happens. Like, but unless I settled in right away and got on with the kind of thing, you know, like I wouldn't know. But to do what they done and be a part of and play football week in, week out there is something that I admire very much about both of them. You know, I'm quite very friendly with Robson and Ledger. You know, I speak to them all the time and that, and they love it out there. They've done really well for themselves out there, to be honest. So I'm very pleased for them both.
He's been captaining he was captaining the side, Michael Ledger, for a couple of games, and they stayed up, and everyone expected him to go straight back down, didn't they?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the team name because I can't pronounce it.
I think it's Nottingham or something like that. I think that's how you.
I'll let you do it.
Don't hold me to that one. I'm sure I'll get butchered for saying it. But you know, I know Ledger played for Viking on loan before that, and I think he enjoyed it whilst he was out there. So it was a bit of an incentive for him to go. But with Josh, Robbo had quite a lot of. He had a lot to stay behind for, if you know what I mean. He had a lot at home for him. But like I say, that opportunity that's came across for him on his table, he's had to sit there and evaluate it, and he decided to take the risk, and it's working out for him. You know, he's making a name for. They're both making names for themselves in over there. So like I say, I can only applaud them for doing that, because it's a massive risk at 20, 21 years of age. Huge. To do that.
Huge risk. And I wish them well. I'm sure everyone does, along with anyone from our academy. In terms of first team managers, we had a lot of them. as you know, as a fan and as a player. But what was your relationship like with each first team manager that you worked directly under, and which one gave you the best advice and encouraged you the most?
I would have to say Jack Ross, to be honest. I think I knew Jack Ross probably better than the rest of the ones that I did when I came across them, really. Because I went to St Mirren for a couple of days, like a trial period for it was literally like 3 days or something. It wasn't long.
Was that when Jack Ross was there?
Yeah, he was. And Fowler as well. Yeah, Fowler was his assistant at the time. And I came up, and it was literally last minute. You know, it was like 5 o'clock at night. Kevin Ball gave us a ring saying, "Oh, they want you in Paisley tonight, ready for training tomorrow." I was like, "God, how am I going to get there?" So my mum had to drive us up in that light. You know, it was all happened so quickly. But they were great with us. Like, I go in, they showed me everything, how like where everything was at, kind of thing, the training facility and that, like, you know. And I think I was only 19 at the time, or just turned 19 at the time. And throughout the session they'd speak to us, and then throughout like the lunch period and that, they'd speak to us. They'd come sit by us. They talk to us about their league, you know, because I didn't really follow that much of Scottish football at the time. Yeah. But they talked to us about the teams, the players, and stuff like that. Like, and then when they came down, when he got announced that he was coming down as Sunderland manager, you know, it just like I thought, well, you know, that's a good incentive, or that's a good opportunity for me, because he knows who I am, he knows what I'm about, and something might come of it, you know. So I was quite pleased when he came down, because I knew from what I seen of him as a manager when he was at St Mirren that he had something about him, along with Fowler as well, and it just like I said,
quite surprising. Yeah, considering because when you mentioned you went to St Mirren, obviously my first thought was that you had obviously James Fowler. Well, you had the whole lot, but pretty much everyone at the higher echelons of the club are St Mirren, or former St Mirren. So does that kind of frustrate you then, that you never really, like, you left it under his tutelage essentially, or do you think how much of a say does a manager really have in moments like that?
I'm not too sure, you know. I'm not frustrated at it, not at all. You know, like I say, Sunderland have given me everything. Have given me the opportunity to make a living in the game. Mm-hmm. They've stuck by us throughout all these years, like through the good and the bad times that I had at the club, and they kept us right. You know, they've shaped, like I say, that in the Twitter post I posted, they said they've shaped us into the person and the player I am, and to get this far, I mean. I know. I did say to myself that if it ever came to it there, where I'd go through all the age groups and I'd get to the last bit and not miss it, it would kill us, because there was nothing more I could really want at the time than was to play for Sunderland. Yeah, you know, just that feeling of, you know, like I've been here all my life, and to achieve what I set out to start from, even though I wasn't really thinking about it at 7 years old, but to go through 14 years of the academy, growing up there and playing for the team that I've trained with all my life, would be something spectacular. But even before that aim was there, the aim was I wanted to be a footballer, you know, whether that be at Sunderland or somewhere else. It didn't really matter when it came to it, because I know myself. I'm at an age now where if I'm not playing senior football, I'm not going to get the great chance of playing senior football at a good level if I don't get out and play. Do you know what I mean? Like that's obviously where the lower moves and that came in for, you know, to prepare me for that, and prepare and to learn senior football, and to test myself against senior players. And that, like I say, that was something that Sunderland have came across and helped me with. It's something like, it's just like I say, it's just something that's something I can never not say thank you for them, because without them I wouldn't be in the position I am now. You know what I mean?
I think it was a really good post, and I remember we said it because obviously you tagged us in it, and I remember reading it, and I remember thinking, like, from a fan's perspective, sometimes you don't think that way. Our immediate thought is he scored 4 in 4. We could have done with a striker. We're drawing games. You don't think that, you know, you're right. It would have been quite easy for you to maybe think, well, I mean, there's got to be a part of you that wants to show people who might not have thought you could have made it, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And without a doubt, but I think when you're looking at the perspective you put across, I think everyone kind of was like, well, yeah, actually, that's right. It's really nice that he appreciated, and it showed a real maturity, I think, and I think you know that.
Yeah, I think many people forget sometimes where they came from and what they had to do or what they've been through to get to where they are, kind of thing. I think a lot of people just for me, I can't remember who said it. Someone was speaking to my mum at one game. I can't remember who was speaking to her about it, but they said, Andrew's the type of kid that would play football for 300 quid a week rather than be sitting on someone's bench for $5,000 a week or something like that, you know? And that's like, it's just that, I don't know, it's just that kind of thing where as long as I'm playing football, I'm happy. And I got to a point where I played 23s football for a couple of years, and when I first went into it, you know, it was another level, it was another step. And granted, I might not have scored as much as I wanted to or played as much as I wanted to, but then I'd been out and tasted first team experience with the loans I'd went to. And then to come back into that under 23s environment, it was quite hard because you get that kind of spotlight kind of feeling when you definitely go to a first team, you know. And because, like I say, when I went to Falkirk, and I think I did well as well, you know.
Yeah.
And to get the reaction from that, like I say, that spotlight where the fans, like, I could walk down the street and people would stop me, ask me how I'm doing, you know, like they recognise me and that, like it's mad. It's something that what I've been not necessarily that obviously like feeling to go out and get recognised, but to be playing first team is what I wanted to be doing. And because wasn't getting that at Sunderland, it was only right that I could go out, that they'd let me go out and play first team football.
With Sunderland as well, though, and I mean, as a fan base, you hear rumours now and again, right? So maybe you can put something to bed here, or maybe you can confirm something. But do you think that Sunderland could have done better earlier for your development? Because it felt, and the stuff that have come through the grapevine over the past few years, where at one point, and Tommy sort of confirmed this to me as well, where there was basically players in the team that were ready for first team football. You look at Luke Molyneux, you look at yourself, you look at Tommy Robson, players that were not 17, 18, you were approaching 2021. And as far as I'm aware, you were kind of stopped from going out on loan for a variation of reasons. I know you eventually did go out on loan. But what's the backstory to that? And do you think that they could have developed you better a little bit earlier?
In some elements, I would say yes, but in some cases, I'd say no as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as you're growing up and you're learning still, like, learning the game, the coaches are obviously going to be the ones for your best advice and know what's best for you, because obviously they've been through it, they've been there and done it, so they have the better idea of where you're at development-wise. For me, I always said to myself, look, like, they've been through and done it, they know they've got the best idea of what's best for me at the minute, I'll trust them and do what they say. But then there'll be sometimes where I think, you know what, I'm playing well, I feel like I'm ready for another challenge, would I be able to go out and get it? And like I say, it depends on certain players as well, because like I say, certain players develop earlier than others and stuff like that. Some people don't develop until 19, 20, 21. Some of them develop a bit earlier, you know. Like I say, like, it just all depends on if the opportunity is right to develop them, by all means go do it. But if it's not, then protect them a little bit and make sure that you keep them ready to go and test themselves. If that makes sense.
Do you feel like your loan moves though? Because again, I've only really off the top of my head got the example of Tommy Robson, but he was kind of stopped from going out on loan because Moyes needed a backup for Patrick Van Aanholt, and by his own admission, I think he knew he wasn't going to get a chance, and that he wasn't going out on loan wasn't for his own development or because he wasn't ready. It was because he wanted to have backup for Patrick Van Aanholt, but that wasn't really in the best interests of the player. No. Do you feel it was like that with yourself, or do you feel like it was more a case of they felt like you were better served being at Sunderland?
I think it was more the case that I'd be better served at Sunderland, because, like I say, I still had a lot to learn. I still have a lot to learn now, but back then I still had quite a bit to learn as regards to the senior game. I believe that because there was quite a few amount of strikers there, so the idea was of me getting an opportunity there wouldn't be anytime soon. But if I ever got the chance to play, it would have to be something like as if like injuries would happen or alongside that, or there was knee strikers at the club, and I think that's what it was when it was the start of this season and pre-season, because we had no strikers at the club. That was when you'd be like, right, okay, we'll test him and see what he's like, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But like I say, for me, I think that I think for me, my loan moves were the right times, to be honest. Because I still had a lot to learn. I still had a lot to take into consideration about as regards to where I was developing and stuff like that. And and I feel like they did, like I say, they did come at the right times. Maybe I could have done it. Maybe it might have been a bit earlier, you know. But it wouldn't be that much of a difference really, because I would probably still be in the same position as what I was then. So say if it was like 6 months earlier, so say if it was the start of the season, I go out on loan, you know, I might have had an extra 6 months to make an impact further down the line.
Yeah, and I suppose you could say as well, on the other side, you could say, look at the form you've had at Dundee. You look like so far, it looks like you've matured in the right way because you're scoring goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So you could also say that as well on the flip side, because of course you had Hartlepool and then Harrogate, but it was really Falkirk where you
kicked off. Yeah,
it seemed to be where you were like, right, okay, the lad's ready to kind of make the step up, be it with us or be it with another team.
Yeah.
How important do you think? Because there's two ways of thinking. I spoke to a Man City fan when we played their under-21s, and he was saying he doesn't like the idea of a loan system because it takes them out of the environment that they're in, that Pep Guardiola's created.
Yeah.
But we're not all Man City.
Yeah, exactly.
My opinion is going out on loans huge for any player's development, mentally, let alone physically.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that.
How important was going out on loan to your development?
Massive. Because it gave me the thought processes of this is what I might be playing at in a couple of years' time, or next year, or further down the line in my career. This could be like a similar environment to what I could be playing in my career. Because like I say, you have to take, like, as you get towards the ages of 19, 20, you've got to take into consideration that yes, it would be nice to stay at the same club for the whole career, but that might not happen. Then what? So you've got to take into consideration that if it doesn't all work out at one club you want to be at, you've got to prepare yourself for them, what might be expected for when you go to another club. But everywhere I went to, they were all eye-openers. They were all learning experiences that have helped me think differently to the way football is now, you know. I mean, especially the lower league teams, like when Harrogate was in the Darlow as well, Conference North, you know. Darlow wasn't a full-time team. I feel as if like that brought me, like kept me feet on the ground, you know. Yeah. Because the environment is different, and the lads were brilliant as well, you know. So down to earth, you know, like no characters, yes, but no big time characters, you know. No one thinking they're above what they are and who they play for, you know. Players that like played for for Darlow kind of thing.
Play for the almost play for the mortgage, don't they? Or a bit of extra pocket money,
like it's like, and like I say, like, and then you go to, like, say, Falkirk and Hartlepool. I mean, Hartlepool was an eye opener because they were League Two at the time. I still had to take my kit home and wash it, you know. You know, and you think, well,
that is grounding.
You know, like it's little things like that make you realise that it's not going to be how you expect it to be, and that just makes that, like, for me, that just gives me the idea of that grounding feeling as well. And Sunderland do really well at that, at incorporating that from a young age as well, you know, like the grounding and stuff like that. I mean, I know you'll get one or two lads that'll believe that they're a bit above themselves, but but Sunderland have obviously got to manage that and make sure that they get the best out of them whilst also keeping them under control, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, the loan move's done me wonders to go out and get an insight of places at different standards, and you know, and like I say, that's obviously helped me progress further on and develop. Like,
with the club and stuff like that, you've obviously made an impression at Falkirk, and I know that because obviously I live near the place, so I remember the people who support Falkirk and the things that they said. And then you did really well at Darlington, and I think Falkirk's higher level in Darlington, but you looked like that level above at Darlington. You scored 7-4, I think.
It was 6-5, I believe. Yeah,
6-5.
Yeah.
You scored a lot of goals, and I think a lot of people in the fan base, because obviously we had dropped down, thought, well, you know, why not? You know, this lad's scored goals at a similar level at Falkirk. You've obviously now proved it at Dundee as well. The really annoying thing, I suppose, which could be for you, and also maybe for us, we've got a young boy at the moment from Tottenham. And no disrespect to him, I don't know what he's like as a player because he simply hasn't played.
Yeah.
But does it frustrate you that we brought in Keziah Sterling a couple of days after we let you go for nothing when we spent years developing you, and we're taking a lad from Spurs for 6 months?
No, a little bit, but not to the point where like I can like I know, like obviously I'm devastated that I had to leave. You know, like I had to leave the club and I had to leave my home to further my career. But that's what was needed. You know, that's what I needed to do to keep playing football. But at the end of the day, it wasn't really up to me to make that decision. Obviously, it's not up to me to make that decision whether I stay or whether I go. It's obviously what Sunderland plan on doing in the future and going ahead and stuff like that. Like, so I can only say thank you. I wish you all the best and take it and leave it from there, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's I don't know much about Sterling either, to be honest. I think I've only played against him once or twice, and like this was going back a couple of years as well. I think when he was younger, so I don't really know much about him myself. But it does leave us wondering whether if I would have got off to as much of a start as what I did at Dundee down there. Like I say, I don't know the standard differences between League One and the SPL, to be honest. Because like I say, I've never played League One, but I do feel as if I was given a go, that I wouldn't let anybody down.
Yeah.
By getting onto the pitch, you know, I wouldn't pass up the opportunity of being given that opportunity to play for Sunderland after all those years of training and wanting to play for Sunderland and like living and breathing Sunderland. You know, like it's something that I would, like I say, I wouldn't just pass up on. I'd make sure that I'd give it a right good go. Like,
I think it's maybe a really obvious question I'm going to ask, and when I'm reading it back, I'm kind of like, why are you asking a question that obviously? But obviously you're a confident lad. I think you can sort of tell that from the way you've played, and obviously I watch sports scene up here, so I've seen maybe more than people might have done back home. But given the opportunity, how confident are you could have scored goals consistently in League One?
Like I say, I give it a good go. You know, I think for me, confidence is massive, and my confidence, like right now, my confidence is an all-time high.
Yeah,
and I think that only helps players believe in themselves more. I like now, I believe in myself that I can do it. Whereas in previous seasons, you know, you kind of think, oh, like, will I ever get a decent run in of scoring? You know, like I say, like when I played 23s, I hadn't scored that many, and then as I started scoring for Falkirk, I got injured. You know, and it's like maybe that could have been like the catalyst for that kind of thing. But
quite a few niggling injuries you've had, actually. Do you think actually hindered your chances at Sunderland? I remember I'm sure it was Hartlepool. You got a really nasty injury at Hartlepool.
I got a concussion and I tore my MCL on my left knee.
That's right.
After 14 seconds of being on the pitch. Yeah, it was like it does though, doesn't it? You know, that set us back 3 months, and then I had 2 ankle injuries before that. Together, they were both 3 months each as well. So that's altogether. You've got my knee, you've got my 2 ankle injuries. That's 9 months altogether. I've obviously fractured my cheekbone through the off season. That was 8 weeks, I believe it was. So that's 2 months there. That's 11 months altogether for injuries. And then I had my foot in pre-season just gone, which was another 4 months. So that's 15 months altogether out of from being in full time at the age of 18. So that's appears to be a season gone. You know,
yeah,
that's a long time. Like.
In development stages, massively. It's a long time in general, especially at development stages.
Yeah.
When I look through your time in the youth squads and stuff like that, and in the under 23s, I think that's the one thing that stuck out for me is even players who maybe had lesser of a pedigree got a bit of game time. But I felt like every time you were close, there was just like an injury there. But I'm not the kind of person who thinks everything happens for a reason. I think that's a bit cheesy, but maybe it does in your case.
I do believe in that. You know, there's always someone that comes up that makes you think that something happens for a reason. Like whether it be, I don't know, like getting injured for the sake of, like, so like to be fair, I thought about it because I was meant to go to Falkirk on loan in August, but I was still struggling to get fit because I still had my torn ligament in my foot without realising. Like they weren't getting off to a great start, you know. Like they were bottom of the league and the manager got sacked and that. Like, so imagine if I went up there and then the manager changed and then the new manager came in, didn't fancy me, then sat me on the bench for the rest of the loan. You know, that wouldn't have been great for me either. I wouldn't have been enjoying that. So that's one way I kind of look at it. It's somewhat in that sense as well. But
just to kind of finish off, obviously you've done really well, and I think at Dundee, and there's been loads of stuff that you've touched on that, and I think it's been a really honest, open conversation. I think it's testament to you. Big one for me, from a Sunderland fan's perspective, you were there or thereabouts with the first team. this season. You've obviously had a bit of experience, which I didn't know, with Jack Ross. What are the qualities of Jack Ross, and what do you think he can bring to Sunderland?
Well, he's shown what he can, hasn't he? Him and the coaching staff have managed to turn it around. You know, that the environment that we went into. So, like, when you come into the club, the whole vibe of the club was different. You know, like it was uplifted. There was a sense of that feeling of enjoying it again. If that makes sense. Yeah, like because like I say, the results that the first team got in previous years when they would get relegated would be that it would be like, oh, like, here we go, like, you know, like it's another day here kind of thing. Like, but like obviously that was separate from us, but it would still funnel down because you like obviously like first team wouldn't be doing too great, and that would be putting pressure onto like their staff and their coaches and stuff like that, and the manager at the times, which would then funnel down to us. Obviously then, like I say, funnel down through the club, and that, like, from what I've like I say, from the experience that I've had, he's good at getting the best out of the players that he's got, if that makes sense. Yeah. Him, Farwan, Potts, they all bring a certain, they're all certain characters, isn't they? They've all got their bits about them that make them. That makes sense.
Did you get quite close to the first team? I mean, not just in playing time, I mean like the players, because to me, I know you had your injuries and stuff like that, and you didn't get in the side this season, but you would have been moved to the first team dressing room, I would imagine, were you?
No, I wasn't, no.
No?
Okay. I think pre-season I did for about a week when we went to Portugal, but then I got sent back down to 23's changing room because I think obviously they started making the signings and stuff like that. Like, so it was just more about when I came in, it was more about getting a look at us and then taking it then on. Because I wasn't playing much either. I think I only played 15 minutes against Darlow and then however long it was against Hartlepool before I got injured. Like, so it wasn't a great amount of football in 2 games, but. I got on, obviously, like I said, I spent that week away with them and I got on well with them. You know, they were a great bunch of lads, like, you know, and like even like through me being in the gym and stuff like that when I was going through my rehab and that, like, I'd always have a conversation with a handful of them, you know. I'd always say hello and they'd always say hello back. They'd always come ask me how I'm doing. And even through my loan move as well, when I'd come in through like my days of recovery and that, and they were training before like, they warmed up in the gym and stuff like that, they'd always say, oh, you scored again, kind of thing. And like, yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And like, we're seeing them, we're looking out for you and stuff like that. Like, so it was nice for them to be taking an interest in how I was doing. Yeah. And like I say, obviously, like Farwan, Jack Ross, and obviously Potts and that as well would come in and say, hey, he's bagged again and stuff like that. Like, you know, and it was great. It just felt like we were all together as one kind of thing. Whereas in previous years, it'd be feeling quite separated. You know, like you get dead. Like some managers would come in, they'd ask like, oh, you're right, and then they put their head straight back down and walk past you as if you were like just a young'un. Whereas now, whereas this season, it's felt like we're all in it as one. Like, you know, there's like the young lads getting their chances as well to come and play with the first team. Like, some of them have made their appearances as well, like Benji, Diamond, Hackett, Lee Conley. You know, like all them players that have come in. It just feels like now it's a group effort as well as obviously being the senior team.
I think if Hackett fills out a little bit, I think he could be really good actually.
Oh, he's a good player. He's got an absolutely wonderful left foot. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the qualities there. He's just so little. Yeah. But I was quite small when I was 18 as well. So
to be fair, he's physically adept. Like he's built. He's very muscular. You know, like he is a good size of him. But like I say, I think because he is still quite young. In fairness to him, I mean, he's been that size since he was about 14. I remember. Like I remember when we used to pick him up on the bus for training after school and stuff like that, and it was just a unit. He was just an absolute unit, you know. And it was just like I say, some players develop physically and mentally different at different times and stuff. So it's more about sticking with them and making sure they get the best out of them through the meantime, whilst they go through that stage of development. So
you touched on the first team players before as well, by the way. One thing I did want to ask, and I was going to ask it maybe slightly differently, but I want to kind of maybe ask it a bit more direct. I was going to say, over your time at Sunderland, who was the senior pros you go to for advice? But I think everyone knows John O'Shea, Wes Brown, Jermaine Defoe. But out of the current crop, what I'm kind of curious is, you've got the likes of Chris Maguire, you've got the likes of Aidan McGeady, who definitely have a character. And I think, especially with Netflix, Aidan McGeady came across as a very straight talker. Could you approach, but how good would the likes of Chris Maguire, McGeady, players like that, or maybe 30, 31 for the young lads, could you approach them?
Yeah, I think like it depends certainly on the type of person that's wanting to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, for me, I'm quite straightforward. So if there was a question that needed to be asked, I'd go ask it. Obviously, I'd still be a bit nervy about asking it, because there's still that certain, you've got a place, make sure you stay in it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt that if I'm bold enough to ask a question to them for their advice, that they should be more than willing to help us out with it, because they were once in my shoes.
Definitely.
And I believe you could do that with any of them. I really do. I didn't really have much of a chance to whilst I was going through my rehab, because it was more. I was more than likely being stuck in the physio room. Yeah, I was literally just in there constantly.
So you've seen a lot of Jack Rodwell in the past years, then?
Well, to be fair, I thought Jack was, for me, personally, he's great. He was a good lad, and obviously I didn't really ask him personally about his situation and that, but
of course. And
I didn't I'm the same with everyone. If I wouldn't like to be asked a question about it, I wouldn't ask it myself.
Yeah, of course. Do you think the Netflix documentary painted some people in a bad light then?
It's certainly
good TV.
It certainly opened up my eyes as well. There were some things on there that I hadn't seen or that I hadn't picked up on through the club, But at the same time, I don't know. It's the majority of it is good viewing, and it does give a great insight into how Sunderland was running. But there were some things where, I would look at it and I would think, is that really how it is, or is that really the way it was put? If that makes sense. Like I say, I don't know if myself for certain, but sometimes it just seemed a bit off. If that makes sense.
I suppose I thought it was a great TV show. And
yeah,
I thought it was
honestly,
great.
It got me so passionate about the club, and to see. I don't know. It was great. It made me want to play for Sunderland so badly watching that. Because I think I was just coming back from my injury when it first came out, and then I was like, yeah, this is what I want. This is who I want to be playing for. This is a club this is the club I love, basically. And like I said, obviously things have happened, turned out another way, but then again, that's football.
It is, but do you think one person a lot of people asked, and it's probably a too early of a question to ask if I'm totally honest, I think, but a lot of people will kill me if I don't ask. Would you want to come back? To
Sunderland?
Yeah.
How soon would you say?
Once you scored 30 goals in the SPL.
It's the way I see it now is I've got to repay Dundee for the faith they've shown in me.
Yes.
They've took a chance on me to come up here and do something, and that's something now I've got to repay them for. And it's something that's like I say, that's my focus now for these next 2.5 years. That Dundee is the club that I'm playing for, and is the club that is paying me to play football. Even though that it's not really that motivated, but it's a business at the end of the day. They're paying for a product, and they want to get the best out of that product. If you know what I mean.
Most definitely.
So
100%.
Now, like I say, that's all my focus is at the minute. But maybe one day, if I ever get lucky enough or fortunate enough to play back for Sunderland, I would certainly do it.
Andy, thanks very much for doing it, mate.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
I think it's been really, really interesting. Everyone at Sunderland, and I can say that without a doubt, wishes you well.
Thank you.
Great to see you scoring goals, mate. Just make sure, because my family are all blue noses, just make sure you've got a couple of passes out when you play them. All right?
I'll bear that in mind, definitely.
Thanks, Andy. You have a good rest of the night, mate. All right. Thanks to you again.
Thank you. Ta-ra.
Ta-ra, mate.
Some exchange betting companies run short-lived promotions, like months-long offers of low commission. At BetDAG, we wanted to change the way we did things, so we set our commission at 2% permanently. That's 2% on football, horse racing, golf, almost any sport. 2%. That's just one way that BetDAG is changing for the better. For the better, like you. BetDAG, the 2% commission exchange.
Over 18s only, please gamble responsibly.